Hey everybody, this is Sean. Welcome to episode 94 of the Gene Pool Variety Hour. I just wanted to start off by apologizing for the quality of the audio. We had some major mess ups on the audio recording during this episode, and I cleaned it up as best I can, but I'm not an audio engineer, so my apologies, and hopefully we will be able to circumvent those audio issues next week. So, thanks for downloading, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Wake up, son. Wake up.
Shake it off! Shake it off! Hey everybody, welcome to episode 94 of the Gene Pool Variety Hour. I'm the old guy of the bunch. I'm the dad. I'm Sean, and the guy on the other side of the screen is, if he knows
Hey guys,
his name.
I'm Meister Quill. No, I'm C-Bomb. No, I'm drunk. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
not.
pre-gaming.
No, you're not. You're playing it up. You're playing it up. But apparently Connor has been pre-gaming pretty hard before the show.
Yeah.
So
Six-pack of Mike's Harder tall boys.
So, you know, as is always the case, the talent always trashes things before the show, and the manager has to try to sober them up ahead of time. Anyway, I'm Sean.
I
That's
don't like
Connor.
greasy food. I don't like tea. I don't like coffee. So the only other thing that could sober me up is like a shot of adrenaline straight to the chest. What's that movie?
You like Dr. Pepper. You like Coke. You like things like that.
I don't like Dr. Pepper. I don't like Coke. I don't like cola drinks.
Okay, well. Anyway, so that guy, that's Connor, by the way.
Yeah.
If he never actually got that out, that's Connor.
With the mustache.
Anyway, so we're just gonna kind of hang out, and we're gonna try to get through this episode. I'm not sure where it's going. We do have a movie to talk about, which was kind of interesting. But beyond that, I don't really know where we're going because Connor is the one that usually runs the show, the topics that we talk about. And I can't trust that I'm going to know where that's going to happen. So
anyway. If you think about it, if you think about it,
if you think about it,
aren't the best contents done ad-libbed when the person is just a little bit tipsy?
Not necessarily.
Look at half the bloopers we've watched.
Connor, buddy, I can barely hold on when you're stone cold sober. Okay?
Exactly. So imagine.
Anyway.
So imagine when I'm at the controls and I'm blindfolded.
I think there's going to be a lot of this. I think there's going to be a lot of chickens tonight. A lot of chickens tonight. So anyway, so yeah, we've got this cool movie to talk about. And Connor does have a question if he remembers what the question is that he wants to ask.
I do.
Okay, well we'll get to that. So, but apparently it's been a rough week, so he decided to just kind of relax hard before the show.
Less rough and just draining. You know, it was our first week of summer camp.
I get that. I
mean, like quite literally, we were outside so we go in from 20 minutes outside to an hour outside. So already I'm more exhausted just because I have to keep up with these kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
Two,
it's good exercise though.
If I'm able to keep up and I can't and not just sit just trying to catch my breath, but right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday was water day, so I was running around with kiddos playing in the water all day.
Okay, cool.
I was the only teacher to actually get in the gritty with them and actually play with them. Everyone else was so terrified of getting wet.
Yeah, well, those are the good teachers, the one that dive in with the kids. So,
cheers to that.
Yeah, I get that. So, well, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, summer camp. That's why I don't do kids. I mean,
and yet you had 3 of them.
No, it's not. I don't mean that. I mean, you know, I I did work with kids when I had that practice, but I don't because I couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up with all that stuff. I could barely keep up
Fair.
with youth, much less kids. So, anyway, well, what? All right. So, is there anything to talk about, or is it going to be a pretty short episode tonight?
It would be one for the books if it was a pretty short episode, if you think about it.
What's that? It would be one for the books if it was a short episode, because we usually end up chasing a lot of chickens
Yeah.
and do a lot of weird stuff. So,
Let's see.
well, where do
My
you want to go
weekend is
first
gonna
today?
be pretty. My weekend is gonna be pretty packed though.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Tomorrow I've got D&D and I've also got Pride. You know,
Oh, I didn't know we
heading
were
to
playing
Pride.
I didn't know we were playing D&D tomorrow because of that other stuff.
Dude, we've been on hiatus for so long. I will play D&D if it kills me.
Okay, well that would kind of end the campaign if it did, though. So we might not want that to happen.
That's okay. I've got a break glass in case of emergency notes able. I can that will be posthumously emailed to Justin, who will take over for me.
Okay, whatever. So okay, well, cool. I got work to do, so I'll be working all weekend.
And then on Sunday, I'm going to be visiting a certain fatherly individual,
Yeah, who would that be? Who are you going to
James
see?
Earl Jones.
All right, because he is your father. There you go.
No, I'm not. I'm going to be seeing you, pops.
I know. Y'all gonna drive down and come visit. So, which is kind of cool because otherwise, I'm just sitting at the house by myself.
And no one should be alone on Father's Day.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Your mom and your brother are out in Oklahoma helping take care of family, so it is what it is. So anyway, yeah. So for me, it's another day.
Have you
another
been
day.
having fun? Have you been having fun diving back into Destiny 3? I mean, not Destiny, Borderlands 3.
I actually have. I've maxed out Zane, so
Good.
he's at 72. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just run. I think I'm going to start slowly trying to ramp up the Mayhem level and see if I can get some better gear. Although most of my weapons are all Mayhem level 10 because I hop on.
Because you do that glitch.
It's not a glitch. You just hop on the Sanctuary. You bump it up to max Mayhem level 10. You go open a couple of gold
Diamond
key
chests.
chests and diamond chests and get some Mayhem level 10 weapons and then go back down to play at a lower level.
I feel like you would love playing Flack, the Beastmaster, because you've always loved the idea of having companions you can summon out and send out to fight with you, right? That's why you loved
that's
why
true.
you loved Gage so much.
Yeah, well, that's why I like Zane, because he's got his Digiclone and he's got his Sentinel.
But the awesome thing about Flack is that you don't have to summon the beasts. They are constant companions with you, and then your action skills are abilities that you share with the beasts that give them bonuses.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I don't know if I'm gonna keep going with that or not. I don't know. I may fire up Oblivion, and try that again. Although I'm afraid that'll just suck me in forever.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
I was sitting there. I was chatting with our buddy Brandon earlier today about the new Year of Prophecy that's coming out for Destiny 2, which is going to be two kind of. It's not one huge expansion for the whole year. It's like two expansions through the year. They're a little bit smaller, but you get two, and all the seasonal content. And dude, that's gonna be it's like $100. And Borderlands 4 is coming out in September, and it's it's going to be on Game Pass. But if you want to get all the seasonal content and all that kind of stuff, you're going to need to pay extra for that. So,
yeah, but the great thing about Borderlands is that even if you don't get all that seasonal content stuff, there is still hours. There is still like good quality gameplay to be had.
Oh,
you know?
Sure.
It is not one of those games where you can just pick it up and play through it on in a weekend.
I know, but I'll want all that extra stuff.
No, I know.
Now, since it's going to be on Game Pass, then all that extra stuff may be at a discount. And I've got like a big gift card. I've earned enough Bing points to get me like a big gift card that'll pay for it. But
cool.
But anyway, so but I'm sitting there going, that's a lot of money for those two games, and of course, I only pay for games that I'm going to bleed the stink out of, and
Exactly.
and so those would be the only two things I would spend money on the Xbox the entire year. But still, I don't have time to play the multiplayer stuff as much as I used to. Even PVE, with Brandon and
Hmm.
Mitch, I just don't have enough much time to do that anymore. Um, and I know that eventually you and I will get to play some Borderlands 4 together, which is
Yeah.
what I'm looking forward to. But to me, the Borderlands games are just as fun if you're playing solo, just kind of playing through stuff.
Exactly.
And I don't find Destiny as fun playing by myself. It's just more of a grind. And I've read, because they're making some huge changes to armor and to weapons. They're going to have tiered weapons now. That the higher the tier weapon you go, the better the stats and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that
Um,
sounds good.
except for the fact that the power, the tier levels up to tier 5, they're kind of tied to the seasonal content. They're not just, you can earn as you get better, you earn higher levels. Like, it's tied to the seasonal content. So every time a new season comes, it starts over. So in some ways, that could make the whole fear of missing out, the whole FOMO thing, and the whole grind thing even worse than it is now. And I just don't know that I want to. I haven't decided if I'm going to invest that kind of time or money into something that's going to be more of a grind than it was before.
So,
And it may
Dad,
not be, but that's some of the fears that are out there about the way they're restructuring things. So,
so this is how I would. So this is how I would go about it if I were in your shoes. Um, I would just ask myself one thing:
what is that one thing?
Is are the memories you have with the game worth the investment?
Um, the memories playing with Mitch and Brandon, absolutely 100%.
Ah,
But the
but
problem is, I don't get to do it as much as I used to.
exactly.
Right. So
So
that's what's making me have a pause. If I was still multiplayer PVE and with them as every week like I was before, then it'd be a no brainer. Because I was telling Brandon today, I'm like, having you two clowns in my headset, that's what makes the game fun. If I'm
yeah,
playing by myself, it's like, you know. But for some
exactly.
but for some reason, Borderlands doesn't bother me doing that. It feels more like a single player game that I can just throw a friend in with me.
Because it is a single player game, you know?
So anyway, so
With
that's kind of where my
Destiny,
decision point is right now.
with the way it's formatted, excuse me.
Oh, there you go. I can't edit that out.
um with Destiny, the biggest thing, it's their interface, it feels like you're just running around a lobby. I mean, like, you don't even have actual dialogue with these people. It's all just sound bites that barely tie into anything. Whereas if you
Mhm.
have like Borderlands, every time you talk to someone, it's a unique soundbite. You can feel like the actual detail in the world, and
Right.
it's not just a generic looking thing for a bunch of people to hop in on, and you can see them hopping around.
Right. I know. And the characters, because there are characters in the game, and so it's more entertaining playing by yourself than, because unless you're playing campaign and have cutscenes, in Destiny, there's not a lot of dialogue. There's just not, and so it feels less entertaining to run through the game. It feels more, the entertainment value for me in Destiny is completely playing with friends. And if I'm not getting to play with friends as much as I used to, I'm not sure that the juice is worth the squeeze. So I haven't decided. I may not get it as soon. I may not pre-order it. I may not get it when it comes out. I may wait and just kind of see, kind of hear from them how it is, because they're also restructuring it. It's going to be more Metroidvania like, meaning there's going to be parts of the maps. The campaign is not going to be linear. You can kind of do different parts of the campaign in different orders or whatever. and there's going to be some areas that you can't access until you get some other skills, and then you got to come back and access those things later. Man,
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the whole Metroid thing where you got to, okay,
no.
I see where something I want over there, but I've got to go level up and go play something over here and earn something over here, so I come all the way back over here. So now that I can, and dude, I won't even remember that was there. I'll miss stuff. So
Now, Mass Effect kind of did that,
absolutely
certain
did.
but in a way, because it was single player, they kind of had it kind of felt a little bit more earned,
Well, and because it was single player only. You didn't feel like you were in a rush to hurry up and get those things to get back over there to get that thing so you keep
Exactly,
up with your friends, right? And so
exactly.
that just worries me
Yeah,
about
I
Destiny.
wish
So
they
we'll
would
see.
stop teasing us. I wish they would stop teasing us with all this subtle Mass Effect reveals and just give us some actual hello.
A few moments later.
What the hell?
I don't know. I hope we're still recording. It says we're still recording. I
Yes.
hope it didn't. So we'll
Do
see.
you want to check the stream?
We're still in there. I see myself in there, but we went blank for a minute. Were you still on?
Yeah, I
Because
was
it
still
crashed.
on,
Yeah, it crashed for me for some reason. I don't know what happened
bruh.
there. So I don't know, but it was still recording, but I don't know if it. So hopefully the Twitch stream is okay because that's probably where we're gonna have to pull the audio now. I don't know what happened there.
Where was I?
So
Where
sorry
was I?
everybody if the audio on this podcast just got jacked up. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened. But
Where was
anyway,
I?
you were
Oh
talking
yeah.
about Mass
Um,
Effect and those kind of
I
things.
I wish they would stop teasing a little Mass Effect stuff and just like give us some actual like either either story trailers, gameplay trailers. Just tell us something about the game because we know it's in production, and we know it's been in production and it's been in conceptualizing stuff since like 2 or 3 years after Andromeda, and Andromeda came out when I was still living in Georgia.
Yeah, I know, but these big games take a really long time.
No, I totally get that, but I mean, it's
So
been taking a long time since I want to say 2018,
yeah, I know, I
and
know.
all we've
Look,
gotten so far is basically one little art reveal thing, and then like a subtle like voice thing that makes us think, oh, maybe Liara is going to be in it, you know?
yeah, well, look at Elder Scrolls 6. It's been
Done it.
10 years since Skyrim came out or
Yeah,
more.
yeah, but to be
And they've been
fair, they've
they've
done
been
a whole.
working on that.
But
And they've
they've
been
been
working
doing
on that.
others. They've been doing other stuff, releasing other stuff, which will help us stay interested as it goes on. Mass Effect
Yeah.
hasn't done anything since Andromeda.
Well, but BioWare, who does it, Mass Effect, may have been doing other stuff. I don't remember
What
if they
else
were
has
or not.
BioWare been
I don't
doing?
know. No, I don't know lately. So
I feel like their biggest moneymaker has always been Dragon Age, and then also a Mass Effect. Those have been their two biggest moneymakers.
I don't know.
Although,
I don't know.
all the way, did BioWare have any kind of pokers in the fire when it came to Witcher? I feel like they did.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't even finish Andromeda. I tried twice and then just
That's
couldn't get
because you
all the way
couldn't
through.
get past the so as always when a game first is released, it's got all these cosmetic glitches. I've played it multiple times since that point. I have noticed no cosmetic glitches whatsoever.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, that turned me off at the beginning, but I tried it again later, and it was just I just couldn't get into the game. Just for some reason, it felt different. So
Again, this is what people don't realize. It's not a continuation of the original trilogy. It is meant
oh
to be a new telling of a new story in a new world, but with this same but with like the same content, you know?
and I get that. What I'm saying is, and I'm not disagreeing with any of that. What I'm saying is that the gameplay just felt different.
Because because they heard a bunch of complaints, some from before that so one of the biggest complaints is that people felt like once they chose their character in Mass Effect 1, they were basically stuck with whatever powers they had, and they had to make do no matter what, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if they wanted to try out new powers, they had to basically replay the entire game,
Mm.
or then basically just respec at the very beginning of the game and basically remove everything they had started with in the original one before. But
Right.
with Mass Effect Andromeda, they give you the option to literally create your own set of powers. You know, all
Right.
these skill
Right.
points to get biotics, so combat, tech powers, and everything in between. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well,
you're literally able to mix and match and create all these combos.
right.
And I think
Well,
that
I
was a
don't know.
cool aspect. Not
I mean, maybe so. Listen, there's just sometimes there's games that they don't click with me. It's like
something that might clicked
Avowed.
with you.
Yeah, it would click better than I thought it would, right?
Yeah.
Because I gave it a chance. But like Avowed, that everybody seems to love. Now, granted, I've only played about an hour or two of that game, if that. Um, it just felt off to me, and I couldn't get excited about it.
I felt the
It
same
might
way
be.
with Elden Ring when I first tried it. I
Oh,
couldn't.
I'm never going to play something like
I
Elden Ring. I hate those kind of
tried
games.
Elden Ring. I gave it a good 10 hours of trial periods, and I could not get into it. I ended up
Yeah.
trading it back in. I kept the receipt because I was worried I wouldn't like it to begin with, so I got a full refund.
Right, right. Well, so there's just some games that they don't click with me, right? And other people seem to love them, but they just don't with me. And I'm going to give Avowed another shot. I'm probably going to just start the game completely over, and
Ooh,
start back at the beginning and
I got a
see
quick
what goes
question.
on there.
It's
Yeah,
not the
what's
geek
up?
quest. It's not the geek question, but I got a quick question.
Sure.
What is a game that has come out in recent years that you have always wanted to try but haven't had the time or resources to give it a proper chance?
Hmm. Good question. I don't know that there is one
I
because
can think of one.
I don't play as much as I used to. So,
I would
I mean,
love to
and
give Cyberpunk a fair shot, you know?
well, I mean, yeah, I guess so. And my friends love it. I've just never, because again, I don't buy games anymore. I am perfectly happy with the offerings that are on Game Pass. Now,
I mean, it doesn't help that Game
cup,
Pass basically has over 300 games in its
a
whole
cup.
catalog.
I know, but a couple of exceptions are like Destiny 2.
Hmm.
If they came out with a new Mass Effect, I would probably buy that one. I
Hmm.
probably wouldn't pre-order it, but I would wait and see how it is. And Borderlands. Beyond that, beyond those three,
Have you tried Wonderlands?
yeah, I've got it and I've played it some, but it's not really clicking with me either.
Really? It
Um,
literally it's the one thing that you asked for more of in the Borderlands franchise, which is more Tiny Tina.
yeah, I
That's a
know,
whole.
but I know, and I need to get back to it and try it, but some you would think that mixing the Dungeons and Dragons and the Borderlands gunplay would be something we would love. So some of our favorite things, but for some reason it feels weird. It feels weird. I mean, doing the little, Tiny Tina's, dungeon DLC thing, just a little campaign, that was one thing, and that was kind of fun. But making a whole game like that, I don't know. It's kind of like the Barb and Star movie that we watched. It was like a
Barb and
SNS.
Star.
It was like an SNL skit that just went on for 2 hours, right? And so I don't know. It just didn't click with me. I've got it though downstairs. I just need to pick it back up and give it another shot. Kind of pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
But anyway, so oh man, I just noticed that Cliff is down back there. Cliff fell. Man down, man down. So
Didn't one of those actors die recently?
yeah, yours. George Wendt died. Norm died.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we might even get more beers bought if we go with Cliff and Norm at
I would have to
DragonCon
get a new
again.
wig though. That other
Oh, I'm
wig
sure you would.
lost that
And you'd have
other
to
wig.
shave your beard. You'd have to shave your beard off.
Never.
Well, then
If you
okay,
remember,
then.
there was an episode where Norm had a fat ass beard.
No, I don't remember
He
that.
did.
But did you hear they're doing a sequel to Spaceballs?
I thought that was fake. I thought that was AI generated.
No, that was it's coming out in 2027, and I mean the trailer that I saw has Mel Brooks talking about it.
Why?
I don't know, and the guy that played
And
it was
wait,
kind of like the one that played Lodestar, right?
so wait. So real quick. Which one is
Yeah.
Mel Brooks? Which one is Mel Gibson? They're both named Mel. I'm sorry.
Oh, and one
That's
is about
confusing.
One is at least 30 years older than the other. One is a short old Jewish guy, and the other is a Catholic dude that got in some trouble a few years ago for saying some kind of anti-Semitic things. They probably couldn't be any more different.
Then why do they have the same name?
Why do you have the same name as Connor? Anyway. Why do you have the same name as somebody? Why do I have the same name as Sean Connery? Right?
Because you're old, wise, and you have a very unique voice.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I have a very
I haven't
voice.
heard anyone else's voice like that.
Well, because it's mine. That doesn't mean
Exactly.
it's unique. That doesn't mean it's interesting. It just means it's mine.
If it's your voice, it's your unique voice.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's interesting.
Yeah, it is to me.
Anyway. Okay, we're moving on.
Who's the one that inspired me to explore my vocal talents with his vocal talents?
I don't.
You.
What kind of vocal talents do I have that I inspired you to do vocal things?
How many times did you make me laugh with all those voices you did as a kid?
I did one.
Yeah, no, there were more.
One.
There was more.
Which one? Which ones?
I
Name
remember
them.
feelings. I remember feelings. I don't remember memories.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Then all I have is this one. That's the only one that I have. I don't have any other ones. I don't know how to do voices. You're the voice person. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway. All right. We've chased way too many chickens.
Accept the drunken compliments.
We had way too many chickens. Way too many chickens. So we went way deep down that video game chicken coop. So let's talk some questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered immediately.
And guess what? It's another video game question.
Yeah, well, okay. Video game heavy tonight, folks.
Dad, we've been video game heavy for a bit.
Yeah, it's what we talk about. We haven't had a lot of movies to talk about because you don't go see a lot of Marvel movies. So
my question was,
yeah,
what video game or video game franchise do you think has had the most influence on your life?
Man, it's kind of a loaded question because I think influence is, to me, when I think something that's influenced my life, it's influence. When I think the word influence, I think, how has it influenced the way I live my life, the way the kind of career that I've had, the way that I treat people. That's what I think about influence. And there's no video game that has influenced my life like that.
I can think of two.
Okay, that's great, but has had a real big impact on my interests in gaming. Yeah, I could probably come up with something there, but something that's influenced my life, that's a big ask.
Fair.
Games are games. Games are not. Now, somebody who's a game developer, right? And they're like, man, Tempest 2000, that's what did it for me. That's what got me into game development or whatever. Okay, fine, right? I mean, that makes sense, but I'm not a game developer. I'm a psychologist. So can't edit those out either. Jeez Louise. So I don't know that I, based on that definition of
that
influence.
Not taste good.
Okay. Good. All right, folks. Just hold on.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
So anyway, I don't know that I can answer that question based on that definition of an influence. had an impact on my interest in gaming. The type have really, influenced my excitement about a specific genre of gaming. I can think about that. So, what's yours though? You say you have two that have influenced your life. So I'm interested to see how a video game has influenced your life.
So one, Mass Effect. What is the biggest core mechanic of Mass Effect that is prevalent in all 4 games?
You having the hots for Liara.
Okay, no, I do not have the hots for the Liara. I have the hots for Tali Zora of Normandy.
Tali. Right. You having the hots for Tali.
Dad, let's be honest. Liara has as much personality as a piece of wet cardboard.
I know. I'm not faulting you there. But, that whole wearing a mask, I can't see what you look like. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm into that whole...
Okay, but ignore the mask. Look at the hips.
Anyway, see where we're going? You see where my son goes? He's talking about a set of pixels like it's a real person. Okay.
I mean,
anyway,
to be fair, one of my most prevalent relationships started online,
I know, I get that. So listen, but that was online with a real person online, not with a video game character.
Anyway,
so what is it about Mass Effect that influenced your life?
So what is the most iconic mechanic in all of the Mass Effect games?
Paragon versus Renegade?
The dialogue.
Right.
How Shepard and Ryder were able to diffuse situation after situation after situation using only their words. They saved species, they saved planets, they saved people with just their words.
Okay.
And that in a way influenced me to always figure out ways to talk things out. Get a better vocabulary and learn things, and then in that way talk things out before going to just the simplest easy solution, and instead work towards something that could be longer and lasting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's your other one?
Pokemon.
How did it influence your life?
Just by the sheer number of Pokemon. Literally, there are over 1,000 Pokemon in the National Pokedex now.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind. So there are literally trillions upon trillions of combinations of types, moves, evolutions, variants, teams as a whole.
Yeah.
So that in a way influenced me and taught me that no one problem has the same solution. You can always figure out a different way to get the same end result.
Okay.
So if something is more direct and bullheaded, that could work. If you could find something to work around the bullheadedness and achieve the same results, but with both a smoother transition, that could also be useful. You can always find a way out of something or to achieve victory, no matter what resources you have available, because there is so much at your disposal.
Right. Well, I mean, and look, and those are
big
both,
brain.
Those are both great things to have learned and ways to have been influenced in your life and things that are important. I guess the difference is, I mean, those things are important to me as well, but I didn't get them from video games, right?
I get
They
that.
didn't come from video games, so I don't have. And plus, I mean, I've grown up with video games too. I mean, ever since the Atari 2600 when I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I guess it's been most of my life as well. But
when you snuck it from your parents that one Christmas,
it influenced my life of crime. But anyway, so yes, I just don't think that any game has influenced my life, how I live my life, how I view the world, or anything like that. I think that's going a bit far for me. I mean, games that influence the things that I like to play. I mean, if you want to go old school, Dungeons and Dragons, D&D, Lord of the Rings, that stuff influenced my love of games like Skyrim and Oblivion and all those kind of games. Because I just
Witcher.
love that, and Witcher, all that kind of stuff.
I remember when you
but-
went down that Witcher hole.
Yeah, I played that for a long time. But anyway, so I mean, that kind of influenced the things that I like to play. Probably what really got me, hooked on shooters, would probably be the Ghost Recon series.
Because
That's what really got me.
that's the sneaking game. That's what me and Luke
No,
used to
that was
call it, right?
Yeah, that was Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell.
Yeah, Ghost Recon was a military, squad based shooter kind of thing. And that was one of the games that when I was a beta tester for Xbox Live, that's one of the first games that we played. That's how I met Mitch and Brandon and Zero and Davidson and Lone Star Gal and all those folks, Lulu, and was through Xbox Live when I was beta testing. So these are people that I've known for 25 years now, 20 years or whatever it is.
Jeez, you've known them almost as long as I've been alive.
Yep. Because we were in North Dakota when Xbox Live came out, when it first came out, and I was beta testing for it. But anyway, so that's what influenced my love of
Out of
games
curiosity, can I ask you
Yeah.
a quick question?
Sure.
Have you ever met face to face any of your Xbox Live friends?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Well, Zero, Sean in North Dakota, he just lived right down the road from us and didn't even know it for a year. But I've met Mitch and Brandon. And I met another one that played with us for a while. She worked at the hospital with Mitch. And all four of us were going to go to Six Flags together. And then Mitch ended up getting called into work, so he couldn't go. So me and Brandon and Linda went to Six Flags. So yeah, we went and hung out at Six Flags and rode roller coasters all day one time.
That's pretty cool.
I'm
You
trying
didn't
to
do the
think
ninja though.
No, I'm trying to remember if I've met any others, in person. No,
Lone Stars.
no, they're out in Texas. I haven't met them.
Makes
I think
sense with the name Lone Star.
I think Mitch and Brandon, Linda, who didn't really play with us a lot, but she was a friend. She played Xbox and she was a friend. And she worked with Mitch. And Zero in North Dakota. There's another guy that played with us. Here, talk about weird connections, okay? So there's another guy that played with us, and didn't realize till later that he was in Drum and Bugle Corps. He was in DCI, and he was in Spirit of Atlanta, which was the local DCI. That all my when I was in high school, that was our home corps, and several of my friends in high school played for Spirit of Atlanta for several years. One of my friends, who was a couple years to me, he was the drum major for Spirit of Atlanta for several years. I mean, they were really in it. Turns out, this guy that I've been playing Xbox with was in Spirit of Atlanta and knew all of my high school friends because they played in Spirit of Atlanta together. So somehow, some guy that I randomly started playing Xbox Live with knew my high school friends that I was in band with because they were in Spirit of Atlanta. Then, when I was at UAB and played in the basketball band, I know this is a bunch of chickens. When I was in the basketball band, there was a girl that played trumpet in the band. Her name was Mary Beth. Turns out they knew each other because they were in Spirit of Atlanta together too. So they all knew each other. So I knew all these. Somehow, these people that I randomly met through college and video gaming, we all knew each other through band. It was kind of funny. So, and so I was planning on going to the World Championships in Indianapolis this summer. But I'm not going to get to. But I was planning on it, and he's still involved with Spirit of Atlanta. He's still on the board, so he was going to be there. So we were going to get together then, and I was going to get to meet him. But
that's pretty cool.
But anyway, so I've met a few. I know that I think Mitch has met a lot more. Mitch will kind of travel and see some of our buddies. So I know he's seen several. But anyway, so yeah.
Now to kind of flip it, is there one that you haven't met that you would really like to?
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe Pete Keg of War and Philly, and Vitamin B out in Seattle.
How many times have you been out to Seattle and you didn't try and meet up then?
It was working. I was working on base.
Fair.
So, and usually I was riding in a rental car with 3 or 4 other of us that went up there, So it's like I say, hey, I'm going to go drive into Seattle and meet a friend, So, I mean, I had one of my high school friends that I was in band with that was in Spirit of Atlanta that knew my friend. He works in Oregon. And we were always wanting to try to figure out a way so we could see each other because he and I've known each other since elementary school.
Oh, yeah?
He's a doctor of nursing out there and a teacher out there, professor, and we just never got a chance to do it. Times where I was there, he'd be out of town. Times when he was around, I'd be out of town. It just never worked. So I would say probably. I guess if you look at it that way, not so much a specific game, but a gaming service, Xbox Live. I have people that I've known for 20 years because of that service. So I guess that's hadn't influenced my life, but it's been something that's been big. I've got folks that, dude, I've was friends with these people when they were having kids that were being born, and those kids that were being born that they were pregnant with when we were playing Xbox Live back in the day are now adults and married or in the military service themselves. That's how long I've known these people. So
that must be a disappointment.
Why do you say that?
I don't know.
You're living on your own and you're married.
Fair.
So, anyway.
The military service is pretty big in our family. Luke is serving. Several of my cousins served. Pawpaw served.
Yeah. Well,
you work with the military.
Pawpaw served. Granddaddy was in the National Guard, but he wasn't like active duty. Your cousin Jason was. Luke. Pawpaw. But that's it. And I worked for the military. I was a contractor for the military, but I wasn't active duty. I was never active duty.
And you're not working with veterans.
I wish I had. I had the chance to go do my internship with the Air Force when I graduated grad school, and I didn't. And the reason why I didn't was because I knew active duty military life, they could move me anywhere in the world, and you were 2 at the time. And I didn't know if that was something that I wanted to put you and Mom through, traveling all over the place. Because we were trying to get early intervention services for you, and we didn't know what things would be like somewhere else in the world, and so I chose not to.
Yeah.
So it would have been cool to, because I probably would still be in the military right now. I'd be finished. Or let's say I'm 50 something now. Yeah, I'd probably be hitting my 20 years to retire, and could retire with full military benefits at this point.
Nice.
Right, or close to it, because when I would have gone in, I would have been going in at like 29 or 30. Well, no, so I would have already hit my 20 years.
Yeah,
I would have hit my 20 years at 50, and I could have retired and then done something else.
Yeah.
So missed opportunities, but that's okay. Missed opportunities led to other opportunities.
Yeah,
it is what it is. So. Okay, well, I don't really know that I have any other answers to that question. I didn't really answer it the way you wanted, the way you were kind of asking, but I did the best I could with it, because I just don't see video games as something that influences the way I live my life. So they're fun diversions, and I spend a lot of time doing them. If anything, they influence my frustrations in my life, because I play too much sometimes. So, but that's another story altogether. So anyway, so that's about all I got to say. And that's all I've got to say about that. So,
which is a lot.
When I start rambling, I'll ramble for a while. So,
you've got the rambling bug.
Yeah, well. So anyway, how about we do something else?
You get that from Granddaddy, I think.
How about nobody rambles like Granddaddy. That dude can tell stories without breathing. It's like he's like can do circle breathing. He can breathe in while he's talking at the same time. I don't know how he does it. It's like he breathes in through his eyelids or something, like Venezuela.
What?
Fernando Venezuela.
What?
There was a pitcher for the LA Dodgers. His name was Fernando. I think it was Fernando Venezuela. I think it's Venezuela.
The dude was named after a country?
I may not have his last name completely accurate. It's been a long time. But he had this weird pitching wind up where he would look up to the sky and roll his eyes up into his head before he threw the ball. And there was something where I think it may have been in Bull Durham where they talked about that he did that because he was breathing through his eyeballs like a lizard. And so
what?
Just watch the Bull Durham.
No.
Just watch the movie.
That's weird.
You should watch Bull Durham. Have you never seen that movie? There was one scene that I wasn't. There was one scene.
Wasn't that one of Luke's friends' dads, Bull Durham?
How about Rob Durham?
Okay, but same name.
I don't think Rob would appreciate being called Bull. Anyway, it's a baseball game, and there was one scene where Kevin Costner had a long speech that was pretty inappropriate for kids to hear. But it is a hilarious movie. You need to watch Bull Durham. So, I'm not even going to tell you what that looks like. All you need is the strap around your face. Don't do that. This is a PG show. No. Mm-mm. Anyway, okay. How about we talk about this movie and move on, man? It's getting hot in my attic. All right. So now it's time for the next installment of
Roll for Credits. Almost missed it.
We're stopping and sputting and sputtering all the way through this thing. So
like an old-fashioned jalopy.
Yeah, or just an old man like me. So listen, so we rolled a pretty interesting movie for this week. It's called Shadow. It's from 2018. It's a Chinese movie. It's a Chinese martial arts movie. Kind of think, some of the fight choreography. Kind of think, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of fighting. And let me see if I can pull up what the little plot line was. Let me see. Let me find it here. I don't need to see that in my face, dude. He just puts why is Hercules from Disney's Hercules up on my screen in front of my face right now? Connor's losing it, guys. We got to get done soon because he's losing it. He's getting the giggles. So anyway, so this movie, it's just a one line thing. It says, in a Chinese royal court, an army commander secretly trains a shadow to retake a city against the wishes of the king. And so the story at the beginning is that there's 3 kingdoms and they're all fighting over this one city. I think it was called Ying City, right? Or Jing City. Jing City. And so they were always fighting over this, who was going to have control over this Jing City. And then 2 kingdoms, I think Yan and Pei, they fought, and Yan won control of the city. And then they joined forces. They formed like a collaboration with each other, and they fought and beat down and defeated the 3rd kingdom, which I guess they must have destroyed them, because you didn't hear a thing about them the whole movie. It's like they didn't even mention the name of that kingdom in the beginning. And so they have like this truce, this treaty between the 2 of them. And Yan, they have control of Jing City, and Pei does not. Pei has a young, weak king, and he's done this pact with them of peace, this truce with them. But then the commander takes it upon himself to go to the other kingdom and say, "Hey, I challenge your best fighter to a duel, and if we win, we get Jing City," against the king's demands or his rules. And so it goes on from there about how all that works out. And The weird thing is, the commander is not the commander. The commander had fought Yang, which was the best fighter in the other kingdom, before and had been injured. And it kind of poisoned him because he was not doing well. He was dying or something. And he had gone into hiding, and they had gotten a replacement that he had trained, and he called him his shadow that looked like him, to fight this other kingdom. Sounds convoluted, and it was. I watched the movie twice because I didn't really get the plot line at the beginning of the when I watched it the first time. But it goes on. So it's really a whole lot more about political intrigue and drama and relationships and secrecy and lies and subterfuge and all that, more than it is martial arts and battles.
The martial arts is basically just a way for the storytelling.
Well, there's very little of it. So it really, to me, it seemed more like a drama in the context of a martial arts movie. Kind of like Eternals, to me, it was more like a drama in the context of a superhero movie rather than a superhero movie, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm not going to go because you should watch this movie. I'll just go ahead and say that to begin with. You should watch this movie. It's really intriguing. So I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a lot going on between dynamics between the real commander and his wife, and the fake commander, the shadow, and the real commander's wife, and
So I can explain
king.
things a bit if you want.
Please
with
do.
that whole dynamic.
Yeah, please do.
So the original whole commander, let's call him Jing Alpha. Okay.
Well, no.
They're both named Jing. That's the thing.
That's not. No,
yes.
They're not. No, Connor. They never name the commander's always called the commander, because remember, and there's one scene where he says, "I named you Jing to constantly remind us of the city and what we're fighting for." So the shadow was named Jing. The commander was always referred to as the commander, because I looked it up. He's never named. He is just referred to as the commander, the original. Okay.
Anyway, so
there's commander and Jing, but they're kind of Jing is the fake commander.
So the commander, his father was assassinated when he was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
His uncle became obsessed with wanting to prevent something like that in their family again. So one day when the uncle was in Jing City, he found the person who would be named Jing as a boy, and he looked remarkably similar to the commander when he was a boy. So he essentially kidnapped / adopted / trained Jing to then be the political double for the commander. The commander would still be the war hero who actually went out and fought and did all this, but Jing would be the person who would be the public head of all of this, and take all of the at face credit, but all of the honor and everything would still be going to the commander.
Right.
And so at one point, the commander challenged the leader of Jing City, something Yang, and
just Yang.
The commander suffered a bad injury from Yang's saber. So at that point he then had to employ his shadow, the double, more and more as his injury became more and more debilitating.
Right, and then he had to train him to basically be his replacement.
Exactly, and so but then as his disability, then as the injury started making it more and more difficult for him to do anything, and for him to look like the respectable commander, the shadow had to end up doing more than just being the public face of everything, and he had to actually go out and perform duties as the commander.
Right.
In doing so, he made mistakes that weren't really that weren't really what the commander would have done. So he then had to get training to make up for what he had to make.
What mistakes did Jing make?
I'm pretty sure challenging Yang to a one-on-one duel was a mistake that wasn't really planned, was it?
That was Commander's plan all along. That's what
Oh.
they were planning for. Yeah. Because if you remember what happened when he went behind the king's back and did that, what did the king do? The king stripped him of his command and all his power. Now he was just a
A
commoner.
commoner. Mm-hmm.
So guess what? And so what did he say? I'm just a commoner. You can't do anything to me now. I can go fight him anyway. And that freed him up to go fight Yang. And that was all a setup. That was all a distraction, because if you remember when he finally went to fight Yang, they basically had a Trojan horse thing going on. Because you remember they said prophecy said, it's going to happen in 7 days. After 7 days of rain, when the river floods, that's when it'll happen. Well, they needed the rain to happen. They needed the flood to happen to flood that river so they could float that boat in, that huge boat with the fighting platform on top, so they could sneak in all those people to take over the city. So it's basically like a floating Trojan horse. So the fight with Yang was all a distraction to sneak people into the city to overtake it, and that was all part of Commander's idea from the get-go. So
now, see, that's where the plot started to lose me.
Well, one of the things that confused me about the plot was, I mean, you just helped make sense of it, that because I was wondering why get the kid at 8 and then all of a sudden, but he's replaced. But he's going to replace the commander, but the commander's still going to be the commander. But you just made sense that the commander went out and did all the actual fighting in the battles, and the shadow was just kind of the body double, for public engagements or whatever. So that helps. It makes more sense. But yeah, there was just so many levels of intrigue, of planning and scheming, and who was scheming who. Because they tried to make you think that the young king was clueless and was dumb. But man, he wasn't dumb. He knew what was going on. You remember all the things that he did that when I went back and watched it a second time, I'm like, oh, that's why he did that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember at the beginning when he wanted to have the two of them play the Ziffers together?
The Zithers?
And they were like, the Zithers, and she said, I want to cut my finger off if I play, this kind of stuff.
It's because the king was starting to suspect that this wasn't actually the commander.
Because Jing couldn't play the Zither yet. He had not learned how to play it yet. So he was testing him.
He could play the flute though. That's what confused me.
Well, they're two completely different instruments. One's a wind instrument, one's a stringed instrument.
Yeah, but those two instruments are complement each other very well.
Dude, I can play a trumpet. I can't play guitar.
No.
Luke can play guitar, but he can't play a trumpet.
No, listen, what I mean is he wanted them to play a duet. So she could have played the zither, he could have played the flute.
But the commander was known for playing the zither. So that's why
zither.
I said zither.
No, zither. The
whatever. Anyway, the stringed instrument. Moving on. That's why the king called him to do that, because he was testing him. And then later on, when he said he wanted to heal his wound, that was also to test him, right? So there were so many things going on that if you go back and you get a second watch, that there were so many things where the king kind of knew what was going on, knew something was going on. So he wasn't as dumb as you thought he was.
Yep.
And then I don't want to talk about the end. I do want to talk about the end, but to talk about the end, you kind of talk about what happens at the end, and I don't want to ruin that for people. But suffice it to say, everybody
blank does blank, and it's very surprising.
No, everybody kind of gets what they deserve by the end. With it, I'll just leave it at that. The people that are bad guys and are scheming kind of get what they deserve, and then the ones that are kind of the victims in this whole thing kind of get what they deserve. And so the two people that were victims in this were Madam, who was the wife of the commander, and Jing. They were kind of the victims in all this, because Madam had to go along with this scheme all along. and kind of pretend to be, the wife of this person, and which led to them to start falling in love or whatever. Jing had been a prisoner and a captive and beaten and trained since he was 8 years old. So they were kind of the victims in this whole thing, and they kind of got what they deserved. And the other folks kind of got what they deserved too. I want to explain how it all happened, but so there was some justice at the end. I did like how it left it wide open at the end what Madam was going to do. Right at the very end, it's like, is she going to, she had a clear decision about what she could do with her next decision. She could pretend like
she could disregard him, or she could support him.
well, she could leave him because that's not her husband, or she could, because everybody thought he was the commander, then she could kind of go along with that and stay with him, because they did kind of start to fall in love with each other. But some things happened that kind of freaked her out at the end.
One night doesn't make love.
No, but there were so many little subtle signs throughout the movie when they would get close to each other, and there'd be the pauses. I mean, there was lots of nonverbal communication in there that clearly showed that feelings were growing between the two of them. So yeah, absolutely there was. So that's kind of the plot line type stuff. Tell me about your thoughts about the movie, just in general. What did you think about it?
I thought it was a very thought-provoking film with a very interesting color paletting cinematography. I thought
love that.
I thought the story was very engaging, if not convoluted. I wish they had added English dubbed, so that there could have been a better understanding to the dialogue, so that you didn't have to like try and follow along as much.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't personally like the ending, because I don't like things that are like open ended. I want to know what's gonna happen. Otherwise, it's gonna make me like, okay, when are we gonna when are we gonna get an ending to the story?
Mm-hmm. And look, and I'm the same way. I hate movies that leave you with an open-ended ending like that typically, but for some reason this one was like, because you saw, and I kind of have a feeling I know which direction she was going, because when she was running to the door, she had this panicked, freaked out, afraid look on her face. She got to the door and started to open it, but then paused, and you saw her kind of soften and regain composure right before she walked out the door, which tells me she was going to side with Jing and be his wife, kind of thing. That's my guess. But so I was kind of okay with it for some reason. I'm usually not okay with those kind of endings, but I completely agree with you about the dialogue. I mean, I know you like subtitles. I'm old, so I tend to watch subtitles now, or have them on so I can catch dialogue that I missed because I didn't hear it well. But I don't like movies where I have to read the subtitles to know what's going on, when there's not a dubbed version. And so I tell you what, though, that made a second viewing much more valuable, because I was able to watch the movie a little bit more and pay attention to the dialogue and the subtitles a little bit less. So that was beneficial. By far, the cinematography was the best thing about the movie. By far. This was a super subdued color palette. Most of the times it looked like it was almost in black and white. And sometimes everything was pretty much in black and white except for skin tones. So they had the saturation turned down so low that the only thing that showed color was skin, were the faces and the hands. I don't know how, and it didn't look like it was. Well, yeah, and the blood, and but it wasn't like really bright fake red blood, but you could just tell it was red. It was just a dark red. But and it wasn't like they enhanced it in some way, because that would have looked really fake. They just somehow played with the saturation and settings that just gave it this beautiful, not sepia tone, but just almost black and white with skin tones. It was really cool. I really liked it. I thought a lot of the camera work was great when they would choose to go in slow motion. When the blades are dragging through the water and the water splashing up in slow motion, I thought that stuff was really cool. I thought they did a really good job with the cinematography, and the costuming. I don't know if you noticed the costuming so much because there was so much of it, especially the fight scenes happened on that huge Tai Chi symbol.
Yep.
Where it was like light and dark with the opposite color dots in each side, and I didn't really catch it. I didn't really pick up on it until I watched it the second time. That the only ones that I saw that were consistently in white was Madam and the Queen and the King's sister.
She was a
Although
badass all into herself.
Although when she went to fight to kill the prince that wanted to marry her as a concubine, which was insulting, when she went because she wanted to go after him, she became her outfit was much more gray and dingy. She wasn't wearing white anymore. And Madam was wearing white until the end. And if you notice, when they had all the men that were sitting in the king's court on the left and the right side, one side was all dressed in white, one side was all dressed in black. So there was this constant dichotomy of good versus evil, light versus dark through this whole thing, that they, even down to the costuming, I just thought it was just really well thought out. I thought the acting was great. I mean, of course, I can't understand the dialogue because it was all in Chinese, but or Mandarin or whatever. But just their body language and the way they inflected their language and their facial expressions was just, the acting was very good. I thought that they did kind of a little bit of almost the anime. Maybe it's just Far Eastern film kind of tropes where the women kind of had that kind of like you have in anime, sometimes, and the bad guys.
What do you mean?
Just kind of giggly and high voices, panicky
No.
kind of sounding.
Okay,
Yeah.
one
some.
you got that in the beginning of the movie when the king was basically having an orgy.
No. I'm talking about, when like Madam was scared at the end, she had that same kind of sound. It's a distinct kind of sound. And then the bad guys are always kind of goofy bad. Like the king's secondhand man was just kind of smarmy, but kind of silly at the same time. And that's kind of, I see that with bad guys.
He was a
in
toady,
the
Dad.
anime.
He was a toady.
Well, whatever. I don't know what that
noser.
means.
A brown
so,
noser.
So that was going on, but I love the cinematography. I love the camera work. I would definitely recommend seeing this movie. But to me, it's one of those movies that there's so many parts that are so good, but overall, to me, it was still a slog to get through because it was just so slow moving. The scenes at one after the other. Wake up, buddy. And so my co-host is literally falling asleep on the other screen. So there you go. So the scene, one of the scenes dragged out, they were just so dialogue heavy and so the only background sounds or music you had was a little bit of the zither stuff in the background. It was just, I don't know, man. I felt like I was wanting a little bit more action here and there, a little bit more something, but everything was just so slow moving that was the one thing that attracted for me from this movie, was that it seemed to drag on. Not that it was that long of a movie. It was less than 2 hours, but it seemed like an effort to get through it, with the pacing of it. But other than that, I mean, I think if you want to see a fantastically filmed movie with some really interesting dynamics between good versus evil stuff, and that there's multiple layers to that, The people that are good are not really that good, and people that used to be good aren't really good anymore, and people that are bad may not be as stupid and bad as you think they are, kind of thing. There's a lot of multi-layers to that. I thought it was really well done. I would love to have seen a little bit more action in it, and that may have been just because I was going into it expecting a little bit more, But I tell you
The
what,
umbrellas were cool though,
I was just about to say my favorite thing in the whole thing was the blade umbrellas.
and the wrist crossbows.
Yeah,
The
those are kind of cool.
repeating wrist crossbows.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, if you watch this for nothing else,
Give Hawkeye
watch
one.
watch it for the cinematography and watch it for the umbrella blades. And when I mean umbrella blades, I don't mean umbrellas that have blades in them. I mean umbrellas that are nothing but blades, like hundreds of blades, some of which they can just spin off of the umbrella and sling it at people. It was pretty stinking cool. So
They also at one point like had one on bottom, one on top, and then they smacked each other and then like rolled around in like a weird death top kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how they got through all the arrows from the enemies that were shooting arrows at them. They sat on one of them, and then they had another one on top of them, kind of created like a blade sphere, and they spun down the hill into the city like that. And so all the little blades from the umbrellas protected them from the arrows that were being shot at them. And so, yeah, that was kind of cool.
So let's just look at a glaring error right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
They had no idea that this weapon even existed.
Okay, well, Duckster, we just got a chat from Duckster. He says he doesn't that our mics are off, that our mics are jacked up.
Well, I mean, you can hear me. I can hear you.
Yeah, you know what happened?
What?
I never turned the mics back on in the stream, so at least we got the pot. Oh man, we've got the. That's not good. That's not good. So this whole show may be shot. Thanks, Duckster.
Oh man.
Yes, Duckster. That was something that was an error on my part. We're recording it somewhere else, and I turned the mics off earlier before we started the stream, and I forgot to turn it back on. So hopefully the pre-stream that we've got is working, although it crashed on us. Bruh. So this episode may be shot completely. We may be doing the exact same episode next week.
Oh no!
Thanks, Duckster.
I don't want to get drunk again.
Well, you don't have to get drunk again. Man, that kind of sucks. So I think on that note, we should just end it.
Yeah, we should just end it.
I think okay. So, wow. Okay.
All right. So should we even just roll or just cut it?
Oh, no. No, we're going to roll. We're going to get our new movie for next time. Absolutely. So thanks, Duxter, for telling us, man. I've got, we're recording elsewhere. So hopefully that's survived. If not, then we just lost this episode. So anyway, yeah, let's roll. So let me get my dice out. Let me roll and see what we got, and let's just move on. So that's why we're not professionals. So. All right, so we're gonna roll to see what movie we're watching next week. We always roll a D20 to see which service that we're gonna stream off of. Roll a 10-sided dice for the category or the genre of the movie, and then we roll a 100-sided die for the number movie in that list. Okay, so I rolled a 16, which would be Tubi. So we'll be watching a movie off of Tubi this week. I rolled a 9, and 9 would be Swords and Sorcery. So we're gonna be watching some movie out of the Swords and Sorcery category. And then I rolled a 48. So we'll be looking at the 48th movie in the Swords and Sorcery genre on Tubi. So let me pull up Tubi real quick. And then I want to go to that. And then I will scroll down and find that. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So hold on one sec. Let me go find that. And I'll tell you what we're watching next week. Provided we actually think to use audio next week. Dude, I'm so mad.
Sorry, Dad.
Oh, it's just idiot for me. Oh, the movie that the Duxter's asking about the movie. The movie we watched, Shadow, it's good. Great cinematography, good acting. It was still kind of a slog to get to because it was kind of slow moving. But other than that, I definitely think it's worth watching at least once. So, okay. So we are apparently going to watch a movie called The Ninth.
The
And
ninth
here's what
parallel, the ninth sun, the
Nope.
ninth moon.
just The Ninth. Here's the little tag or the little synopsis. Petersburg at the end of the 19th century was embraced by a massive enthusiasm for the occult sciences and esotericism. British medium Olivia Reed arrives in the capital of the Russian Empire on tour and gathers crowds of people at her public spiritualistic sessions. At this time, a series of ritual, mysterious murders take place in the city. Girls are abducted on the streets. Their mutilated bodies are found in various parts of the city. The investigation is carried out by a young police officer, Rostov, and his assistant, Gannon. With each new victim, things are becoming more confused. Suspicion leads Rostov to Olivia, and he decides to turn to her in the hope that her genuine or imaginary ability to summon the spirits of the dead can help to get on the trail of the killer. So it is a supernatural serial killer movie. And the director's name is Russian, and actors' names are Russian. So I'm hoping that it's dubbed and not just subtitles only. So we'll see.
I mean,
it's on Tubi, so it's got to.
you should be able to understand at least a little bit.
No, I studied Russian history. I didn't study the Russian language, Connor. I've told you that. So anyway,
Yeah, but I feel like you would learn some just by the context of the subject.
Anyway, so I couldn't follow dialogue in Russian. But anyway, so we're going to watch some weird spiritualistic serial killer movie from the 18th century based in Russia. Apparently sounds like it was filmed in Russia so
basically Russian Jack the Ripper.
I don't know, because there's this spiritualism stuff involved in it too, and there
was suspected spiritualism with Jack the Ripper. Actually,
I don't think so.
A lot of people
straight up serial killer stuff. So, but this is like bringing in that somehow spirits are involved in this, and that wasn't the case with Jack the Ripper. Okay, so anyway, that's the movie we're going to see next week. For next week, we're going to make sure not to screw up the audio like we did this week, and we'll see y'all then. So thanks for the heads up, Duxter, and we'll see y'all next time. I'm kind of thrown off after all of that, so I think we're just gonna go. Thanks for listening on the podcast. And we'll see y'all next time on the Gene Pool Variety Hour. And always remember,
stay nerdy, my friends.
There you go. Jeez Louise. What started out promising crashed and burned. Anyway.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.